Today was bad. Light work, people. Light work. Seems we're soft all over the pitch. Whoa, someone's trying to get me in trouble there, whoever that was. I'm looking at the smiles and the face on the faces. It sounds like that was a Conroy. Was that?
I don't know. I don't actually know how that happened. I'll have to figure that out.
Mo was completely bemused. Like, so
Yeah.
Mo was at the picture.
Like, I'm trying to think, was that me?
Yeah,
like,
no.
I'm basically closing other windows on my computer. So it wouldn't be me. I don't know.
But Conroy and Evan had this kind of smile, like hopefully they're going to look past me kind of smile.
I don't know how that happened, guys. It might have been just a delay from one of us. I don't know how that happened.
It is what it is. It is what it is. People, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world of ours. Welcome to REDFELLAS. It's Sunday night in the UK, so it's REDFELLAS night. And what a weekend. What a weekend to talk about football and all things Liverpool. Where do we start, people? Well, basically, we start at Anfield Road because that's where our heart is. That's where the home is. That's where the heart is. And Liverpool turned up at home against Norwich City on a wet and cold Saturday, 3 p.m. and decided we're going to make this tough as possible for the fans. Everyone went into this game. We thought it's going to be, I saw predictions of 4s and 5s and all sorts, right? And, you know, we don't make it like that, do we? Liverpool Football Club don't do things easily. But listen, we're going to discuss it all. We're going to chop it up. We're going to try to make sense of it all. Of course, then we're going to go on to try to make sense of what happened at Etihad later on in the evening. And then we'll try to just merge the two games and situation and see where we're at. And of course, everyone will recognize everyone. But everyone's going to recognize that where's the other half or quarter of the REDFELLAS? Well, we dumped them for one weekend, and I couldn't think of a better person to bring on to dump them for than my man Mo Stewart himself. Most welcome again, Mo.
Thank you very much, Chris. I feel like fantastic substitution seems to be the theme of the week.
Wow! So, yes.
Mo's already a different level.
Brilliantly put in there.
We're not that quick. We are not that quick.
Hey, listen, Avi and Keith out. Bring the big dog in, Mo. What a substitution!
It's only days, yeah.
Call me her Klopp. Call me her Klopp, man. Come on. And of course, I've got the two usual REDFELLAS in the building. Conroy, what's happening, my friend?
No, good, mate. Good. It's I know we're going to talk about it, but I know you say it's your phrase. It's not my phrase, but you know, Barclays. It's that Antonio Conte meme when he says, "I just want one normal weekend of Barclays Premier League," and I think this weekend summed that up completely.
I genuinely don't think there's a normal weekend left, people. Every weekend is going to be a madness, and that's the beauty of it. Conroy, we recognize that you're in a new surroundings. Can you fill us in, because we don't see sunshine and we don't see windows, we don't see the world map behind you. So where are you at now, B?
So I'm at my grandparents' just outside Los Angeles. People in the chat saying they preferred my old background. I did too. I had the Liverpool memorabilia on the wall. I had the player pictures, but this is temporary, guys. Temporary surroundings. I'll be back to where you want me to be very soon. No, we appreciate the effort. Evan wasn't going to make it today, but because he's obviously had to go and visit the grandparents. But Evan's an absolute professional. Unlike a couple of the others, we won't go into. But the game's the game. Conroy, there's only one way to start about. Tell me how you feeling, man. Liverpool eventually got the 3 points at the end of the day, by hook or by crook, or however they mean to do it. How did you feel? Was you one of those that, I can't remember your prediction now. I'm sure we had I don't know. I can't remember what you said.
I was more reasonable. I kind of thought it would have been about 2-0. I didn't think it was going to be an absolute slaughtering. Just because, to be fair to Norwich, Dean Smith has done a good job. I think that shouldn't go unnoticed. Like, for them to even have a chance of survival is genuinely an amazing job from Dean Smith. So I thought it would have been one of them. I didn't think it was going to be a 4-5-0. I thought it would have been just enough. I did think it'd be more smooth than it was, to be honest, and eventually it became like that. But for me, I kind of thought it would have been the way it panned out. I was going to say 3-1, 100% was going to say 3-1 as my prediction. But then I remembered we've actually recently we've got more clean sheets. Well, we've had clean sheets all season, but there's not been as many sloppy goals. And then ironically, Joe Matic sticks a leg out. So that's the way it goes. But I thought it would have been a smooth result, Grizz, and eventually and thankfully we got that result in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. We did. Dinesh with the first super chat of the night. What a brilliant super chat. He says, "Evening, gentlemen. Great Saturday night. We win all our games and we will be champions and goal difference. Hopefully, we can win all 4. Amazing, absolutely amazing. That'd be what a season that would be, hey people. But anyway, the dream lives on. Listen, as long as the possibility is there, we this is what we live for. This is what we were in the game for. We will come on, A-Spec. We will come on to this. Thank you for the super chat. If there's a player that suits us, it's Kane. We speak about all goings on at Empty Had later on and a certain Harry Kane. Evan, your reactions just to how you feel, not the game per se, but how you felt after the game. Was it a sense of relief? Was it like that could have been easier, or did you not care? I think you're one of those that don't care. I think you've said it before, haven't you? You just want 3 points.
Yeah, I just want 3 points, especially when you're chasing City. That's the only thing that matters. There was a bit of me wondering why I'm knee sliding across my living room against 20th place Norwich. There was a bit of that going on, but I love knee sliding. I love a good knee slide. Doesn't matter where. And I'm glad you guys brought up the Antonio Conte meme. Just praying for one normal day of Barclays will never happen. One of my favorite quotes, one of the more quotable managerial moments of recent years. So you guys are spot on, but most of it was relief. But I am happy that we did it in such an impressive fashion in the end.
We did, but Mo, we get into the game with you, and post Champions League always has sort of a slight effect. Especially, I feel on all of the teams, actually, not just Liverpool. You notice that all the Champions League teams do have. We obviously know what happened to City post Champions League this weekend. We've seen Inter Milan lose over the weekend. So PSG lost over the weekend post Champions League. So that, and then added to the fact that our manager, because now he's got such a house of riches to choose from, decides to make not a couple of changes, not 4 changes, but 7 changes. He decides to go without his 2 fullbacks, who are probably the most complete pair of fullbacks in Europe, and absolutely vital to the way we play. He takes out the best DM in world football. He takes out Jota, who's probably the hottest striker in Europe. Bobby Firmino, best young player, Elliot. I can't even remember who else. Thiago's on the bench. Surely we kind of expected a bit of lack of rhythm or lack of. Did you find that?
I mean, that's very fair. I think the thing for me that I was struck by the team was it's a massive vote of confidence for a lot of the guys out there, because knowing that the changes at number 9 were kind of forced on him, i.e. Jota and Firmino weren't available. Normally in those situations when we're missing vital pieces, everywhere else we try to go as strong as possible. But we didn't. I was very surprised that we rotated both fullbacks, because normally you'd say, okay, we mitigate the loss of one by still having the other one. But that was a massive vote of confidence for Tsimikas to say, okay, I believe that you can do the Robertson role as good as Robertson for this game. Which he got an assist, so technically he did. But I do think that there's a certain amount of, like you say, it was always going to be that way. And also the other thing we have to factor in, yes, we played midweek in the Champions League. Norwich didn't. Norwich had 7 days to plan exactly for that game. And if you watch how they started like a team that had a plan that they thought might actually work. Like literally from the kickoff, first ball was an aerial over Tsimikas' head. And as soon as it went over Tsimikas' head, 4 yellow shirts started sprinting forward. And suddenly they're right on our goal. So they were always going to start with impetus because they were believing in what they're doing. Like Conrad said, Dean Smith's done a really good job with kind of infecting some belief into a team that looked like it had none. So it was always going to be tough, but at no point was I worried. Genuinely, I know it's easy to sit here saying that now with having won. When that goal goes in, you think, "Oh God!" And in the past, it definitely would have been, "Oh, it's one of them." This was very much going to be filed alongside the beach ball and all those other ones that are in that locked door in the back of our heads that we don't open. But that's not this team anymore. It's just not this team anymore. And I believe before the substitutions, I knew that there was something that would be able to happen to unlock that door. And from being there at the grounds, I had the privilege of being able to see, feel, and participate in that sonic boom that happens between those, from the first goal to just after Salah's goal. It was just that prolonged noise that I think really, really shook Norwich. And having that in our locker that we haven't been able to call on in a while as well, I just think everything's kind of coming into place at the right time.
It does seem that way. Fahim, my good friend from Luton, big up Fahim from Luton. He says, guys, I'm debating on WhatsApp with a brother who thinks Thiago is overrated. Can you explain why Thiago is so good and he's directed that at Evan? We will speak about Thiago and we will make sure Evan has his say. He wants to hear your take on Thiago. So just bear with us for him.
Flattered. Thank you.
Me and Conroy have actually an agenda to follow, brother. So please let us follow the agenda as opposed to enforce it. But Conroy, part of the agenda was to talk about that selection. As Mo says, usually when Klopp does decide to rotate one of his magical fullbacks, it's always one as opposed to both, because they're so detrimental, because they're so imperative. Absolutely imperative to the way we play, absolutely vital cog in the whole footballing philosophy of Klopp. And then when you add to that, he puts in young Joey Gomez. I still call him young. You know, he's 24 now or something. He's young to me, and B, footballing wise, he's still relatively young. He's got a lot of years ahead of him. Tsimikas, as Mo says, look, he's shown plenty of faith in Tsimikas before. I even thought the lack of games Tsimikas has had in recent weeks kind of showed. There was a bit of rustiness in Tsimikas at the start. There was definitely a rustiness in Joe. But overall, I thought he'd done very well. What was your take on the fullback situation?
I feel like before this game, I actually done a few different streams. And I changed my mind 4 times on who was going to play. And I eventually decided Tsimikas was the right option. And if you're going to pick a game where you can race both, this is probably it. Because if I put out the schedule in front of you right now, you've got the cup final, then you've got you've got Leeds, the cup final, and then I forgot, but there's like 4 games in a row that he's going to play Robertson and Trent. He's got to rest Trent somewhere. He can't. People forget about Trent sometimes. That like he adds to our system so much. He is the best right back. If you want to say, if not, he's one of the best right backs. He's underappreciated in the country. He's from 100%. This is from a Scottish person. It's clear and obvious. And then obviously with Robertson as well. This was the one tie you could say that I feel like with the depth we've got now, you could afford to do that. And ultimately, that's what worked out. However, it's like there is a few moments where you're like, oh, we're not sure. But I feel like that was the decision making behind it. On Joe Gomez, Grizz, I think Joe Gomez is an interesting topic right now, because after that game on yesterday, you had a few people who said he played really well, and others who thought he was a bit, indifferent or had a few moments. For me, I thought he did play well. I feel like it is important to remember that he is a centre back. He's played full back, but he's a very defensive full back, and he's also not played lots of games. So I feel like it was good from Klopp to do that. And I want to ask everyone here, do you feel now, because of the way it's working with Kanate and Matip, that Liverpool look to use Joe Gomez as a backup right back and a backup centre back going forward, and not look to get a right back in the summer as cover?
Evan, you want to go first?
I think that's really up to Joe Gomez, isn't it? Is he willing to accept a role in which he plays second fiddle to the best center back in the world and the best right back in world football? These are tough positions to find. Kostas Tsimikas is a bit of an anomaly because he's willing to come in and be back up to the best left back in world football. That's a type of mentality that I think is a bit rare. in the market. It might hurt Gomez to think that he was such a crucial part of the best Liverpool team I've seen in my lifetime, and to now have his, minutes reduced to maybe that of Nathaniel Klein if he was playing second fiddle to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, he's a much better player, but you see what I'm trying to say. I think it'll be ultimately up to what Joe Gomez wants out of his career. We know how much international football means to these players. He'll want to be in and around that picture. And he definitely has a lot to offer both Liverpool and England. So yeah, ultimately up to him. I think.
We know from Charlton he started off as a fullback, don't we? And then he actually started off playing left back under Brendan Rodgers for Liverpool. So we know he has covered in the fullback areas. I agree with you, Evan. I think there's two ways of looking at it if you're Joe Gomez. I think, right? Obviously, it's speculative. I think it's one of those where you think to yourself, I'm young. It will double my chances of actual game time if I'm an option as a fullback and as an option as a centre-back. I have got, and I know that if I get a chance at centre-back and I perform, he's the kind of coach that will keep me in the team as well. So he's got that faith in Klopp as well. Does Klopp have that faith in Joe Gomez? That's the question I think we all we don't know the answer to. At the moment, I think it's, as much as it hurts us, because I'm a massive Joe Gomez fan. I love the kid. I think he's matured so much. Listening to his interview, guys, after the game, I was astounded at his maturity in the way he spoke and the way he spoke about his experiences and his time on the pitch, off the pitch, around the club, because that was not easy for him. Not only was he thrown into the wild end against bottom of the table Norwich, who everyone expected us to blow away, but he was thrown in place of Trent Alexander-Arnold, the best attacking fullback in world football. Automatically, brains, in the ground and around the world watching that game were automatically thinking, Trent would have done in that situation. And that's not the way to judge a young player like that. So I think it's a very good question. Conroy, you've taken up 15 minutes of my agenda, but go on, what's your opinion on that?
I was going to say there's still two important things that you didn't mention there. One, what Evan said about Tsimikas being okay, being a backup is a really important point, because the difference between Tsimikas and Gomez is that Liverpool were already great when Tsimikas joined. Joe Gomez built this. He was very involved in all of that. So he's taken a step back, whereas Tsimikas is trying to break into an already great team. Another thing we have to factor in whether or not this is going to be a backup fullback is James Milner, because obviously that's his role as well. If we're offering him another contract, I dare say some of that is going to be, you're going to get some games at right fullback. For Joe, I really feel for him. I really do, because the biggest difference between now and before is that Joel Matip has stayed fit. That's literally it. Like, if you ask me, I don't think there's any difference in how Klopp feels about him than how it was before. I think if you speak to Klopp, he'll say, if I'd have given him the minutes I've given Joel Matip, then he'd look like the Joe Gomez we all used to. And I do still think that's true. And I think that Joe Gomez still believes that. And that is the problem, is that he knows that the only way to get back to where he was is to play regular minutes. And he's clearer and clearer that he's not going to get that chance in this team. So that's what I'm worried about. In terms of his comparison with Trent, one thing I do think we have to remember, something else I haven't mentioned, Nathaniel Klein. Like, Joe's better than him. Like, teams weren't basically marking everybody else and saying, let him have the ball. Because that wasn't happening. Because if you think about it, in the game, there are a couple of moments where Joe maybe took on a little bit more than he should have, and Norwich crowded him and they won the ball back and there are a few groans. Go back and look at Mane's goal. How did it start? Joe Gomez winning the ball from 3 Norwich players, taking a chance and driving into midfield, winning it, and then passing it on to Thiago. So he will know that that's part of his job when replacing Trent, and he will have got a big tick in his box from Klopp for doing that. So if he has the desire to keep playing that way, I think he'll still get the chances.
Not only that, guys, but we forget, or I think if we forgot, we were very quickly reminded he was up against Norwich's deadliest player in terms of pace and effectiveness, Milot Rashica, who we actually like. And we know when we like someone, they must be good, right? Yeah. And so, look, and as I said, look, I did see the criticism, Conroy, you referred to, that some people were critical of him. I actually thought if you tried to watch that subjectively for Joe Gomez at fullback as opposed to someone's playing in Trent's position, it gives you a total different perspective how he played in the game. Bit of housekeeping before we go on, people. Of course, Grizzgone TV and the REDFELLAS on Sundays is sponsored by Elite Me, your specialists in CBD, all things CBD, not only CBD oil. The reason why I speak about CBD oil is because it's done wonders for me myself, and I still take it, guys. And I sleep like I've used a few animals, Mo. I sleep like an elephant. Do elephants sleep well? Does anybody know? Because I want to use a different animal. I've said sleep like an owl. Do owls sleep?
Well,
I don't know.
Have you seen that video of the baby elephant and the mother can't wake her up, so she goes to get some of the animal trainers because she's so scared she's dead? That elephant looks like it's dead. So, I mean, that's a good sleep.
That's how I sleep. That's how I sleep after I've taken 3 drops of Elite Me CBD oil. So people, go out, check them out. www.eliteme.com. And if you type in LFC 15, you even get 15% discount on all their products. They ship everywhere around the world. There is no excuses not to try them out and check them out if anything CBD is your thing. That's the housekeeping out of the way. We've got a couple of super chats that probably might as well get out of the way with, and in case people think I'm blanking them. Loving Devasy, what a name. He says, rivals saying Mo can't dribble is the biggest lie. They need to just show them highlights of that. I mean, he was. We'll get.
I thought they were talking about Mo. Like, Mo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, of a dribble. I mean, I've just got water, so you know.
Fiennes Ninja thoughts James Taverner for backup to Trent Alexander, 17 goals and assists, 30 years old. Sometimes that works for you when you're a guy that's 30 is not coming to the end of his career. He won't come as a backup here. If it was 32, 33, then he may think 15 games a season might suit him. But good shout though.
Bear in mind though, just to add to that, I'm not going to take too much time. Tavernier last season missed 4 months, and I think he had 25 goal and assist as well, and he's playing right back. He's not a right wing back, so it depends how you want. That's maybe a debate for the future, Grizz. It depends if you want like a defensive option that I've went more for when Trent's not there. But if you wanted like a replica who could play in a similar way, it's not the worst shout. But maybe that's something we could talk about. It is a good shout. It's a strange one. I think you're right. 33, you might have a chance with him when he gets a bit older.
I have a feeling we might be outbid by a certain Aston Villa if we even went in for him, to be fair. I feel like Steve's got his eye on him.
I thought he went for Patterson, but they went to Everton, didn't they?
Mo, yeah, don't start about Scottish fullbacks.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point, Mo.
Conroy's going to take over the show of Scottish fullbacks. Gomez will be in Aston Villa, A-Spec says, next season. So if it's not Taverner, he may have his eyes on Gomez. Evgeny Gurin, big up guys from Russia with love. Beautiful. Big up yourself as well. Up the Reds. Hope this season will end up with pure positives and several cups lifted. Got a feeling City are ready to lose a league. Can't prove it, but it's all feel. Hey, listen, you're not the only one with that feel, brother. Mm-hmm. You see the smile and on my face. This is what it's about, and all our faces. Some people want me to call out Grizz had Turkish comeback on Thiago. Check out the Big Six show tomorrow, where I will be discussing Thiago amongst other things with the Big Six crew. But appreciate the super chat. Okay, guys, where are we? Evan. So basically, let me just remove this. So basically, not only the fullbacks, as we discussed, but a whole revamp in midfield. Personnel-wise, one change. Positional-wise, quite a few changes. Because Henderson becomes the number 6. Although he ended number 6 as against Inter Milan, but Henderson plays as a number 6. Naby and Ox are the chosen midfielders. Thoughts?
You know, I think we're all very well aware how far Thiago and Fabinho take us as a duo and how much they outcome the swing of the match. But this is the deepest team of the Klopp era, and we can't justify having such squad depth lying around if we're not prepared to use it. You know, I mean, we're paying these players for their talents, so you have to rotate at some point. And like you guys have already said, with Gomez and Trent, against 20th place Norwich, it's got to be a tempting time to do it. I was happy to see Henderson in the six, because I think throughout his up and downs this season, people forget that he's an able deputy in that position. At our peak in 18-19 and 19-20, I'm pretty sure Fabinho had 2 month-long injuries in both seasons, and Henderson had to fill in. And we didn't skip a beat. We went on some of our most impressive runs in our history, of our club, with him at the number 6. So, and I thought,
people forget that. People forget that, Evan. I love when you bring these ones up, because I know you, and you're a real one. I love when you bring these little things up, because people have very short memories. But sorry, I had to interrupt. Sorry.
No, you're okay. And I think it speaks volumes to how good he was at the role, that it took someone as good as Fabinho to permanently push him out of it. But, like I said, it's been an up and down season for Henderson. There's been some criticism. And after he filled in there at the San Siro recently, I was wondering, for his own confidence and just for his own form, could he not benefit from just having a different job in the midfield? Because there's a big debate. Is he suited to the way the midfield currently play on the right side of central midfield? I was just wondering, because he finished so strongly at the San Siro. This might be how we preserve Fabinho during the meat of the season. And again, it was an incredibly composed performance. We're talking about third highest passing percentage and the most passes completed in the game. And as we saw, these weren't just 5-10 yard passes. It was the entire catalog. So well played from him. I like the midfield.
Conroy, Evan likes the midfield. I think I third agree. Like, I only agree 33%. The rest I didn't like, and that was the performances of Naby and Ox. This is just me personally. I absolutely agree that if Jurgen Klopp's not going to utilize his squad for this game, there's no point having a squad, because we can say what we want. We can dress this up as we want. If we can't beat Norwich with the squad and the lineup that we had comfortably, then there's something drastically wrong, and we don't really rate the squad depth.
You don't deserve to win the Premier League.
We don't deserve to win the Premier League. Saying that, I just feel Ox and Naby, in my opinion, at the moment, are still not doing enough to grasp the opportunity. For example, there's a League Cup final on the weekend. My humble opinion, neither of them have done enough to come out of that game and say we're a shoo-in for that cup final. That's just my opinion. What did you think? I think what he said on Henderson, I absolutely agree with. And you know my thoughts on Henderson. I think absolutely Henderson needs to maybe pull in his own pride and sort of say, okay, I know I suggested to you that I'm an amazing 8, Klopp, but you and Pep and whoever Buvac may be converted me into a number 6, and I'm a very, very good 6 still. Obviously, Fabinho is Fabinho, but I think number 6 does suit him. That's my opinion. But the other 2 lads, just give me your thoughts. I was left very frustrated with their performances. That's what I would say.
Yeah, well, firstly, let's be honest. Is that Oxy's first game in a month or a month and a half?
Something like that.
I'm not making excuses for Ox. Like,
well, you are.
Oxy's but Oxy's biggest problem is he'll have a really good game. Atletico, he's one of the best players on the park. 9 out of 10 performance, and then he'll come on against Brighton, get assist, everything's going well, and then have a disaster in the second half. Like, he just does this. He's inconsistent, and I think that's one of the most frustrating points about Ox, because sometimes I look at him and he's taking players on, he's creating space for others, and you know what he's good at. But yeah, I just think it was one of the other ones with Ox where he just really didn't do much. A bit of a passenger in the game. I'm not making an excuse, but you can maybe say it's his first game back. So for me, it's maybe not the worst that he got minutes in his legs and then he can come back again. With Naby, I wouldn't say he was as bad as Ox. I still thought he'd done some stuff, but I get what you're saying. I feel like he's performed a lot better, and he's not really done anything that's going to change Klopp's mind toward the cup final on Sunday. And again, it's quite ironic the way football works, because I know there's a lot of Henderson haters, and yes, he's had poor performances this season, but it just shows you in the space of a week, Henderson's came on, and then he's literally played a game and a half, and now it's changed. Oh, he might start at the weekend. So I get exactly what you're saying, Grizz, because sometimes you can come on and have that much of an impact in a game that you're banging that door for a start, and it will be considered by Klopp, because Klopp is fair in that way. If you're playing well, look at Elliott, he will give you opportunity. But I just think those two, they didn't do much. I think Ox, he'll probably get a few more games under his belt, but Naby, I don't think will contest for the game on Sunday.
I mean, the thing we have to remember is that the reason why Naby started that game is because he literally did what you said, Conroy. He came on against Inter Milan and he played well and he earned himself a start. I think what I would also say is I would very much not say Ox and Naby. I would very much just split the two performances up, because I think Naby, we have to remember a lot of the time what we think he should be doing is not necessarily what Klopp's asking him to do. Klopp's asking him to become the new Genie. So it's not just as much about taking the ball forward, driving at defenses, trying to find passes. Sometimes it's just about positioning, shape, being able to win the ball back at the right time, being able to shield the ball. I think some of those hidden things he was doing well. He was definitely a step slower, though. And there was a period of time, maybe from half an hour in the game, right up until just before the substitutions, where the midfield in general struggled. Norwich got the upper hand. And I was watching it and I was looking in their faces, and Naby and Ox, this is the one time I will put them together. The one thing they both were doing, they were trying too hard for me. You could see, and Ox, I love him, but this is something we see from him a lot. When the game isn't going his way and he's trying too hard, it makes it worse than better. I think
can't keep it simple. Can't keep it simple.
No, and for all of his qualities and his potential going forward, I think this is something that holds him back from getting regular minutes in our games, is that he isn't able to stick to the program. You can see that he's thinking, I've got to do something. And the atmosphere changed in the ground. You can sense everyone's getting a bit tetchy. Every sloppy pass, there were more groans and more groans. And he gets affected by that more than a lot of the others, I noticed. And I feel like that got in his head a bit in the game. I think Naby will get another chance. I think he probably did enough of what Klopp wants. I agree with you about Henderson. Although one thing I will bring up, Grizz, you said you only agreed 33% with Evan. Technically, Evan only mentioned Henderson, and you agreed with that. So technically, that's 100%.
Yeah. If you analyze it that deep, but I didn't expect anyone on this panel to analyze it that deep.
What? I usually invite me on.
I usually get away with it with the rest of these red fellas, but you're obviously too smart. But
at this rate, me and Evan are not coming back. Avi and Cliff are gone. They're already gone. It's just going to be Mo and Grizz on Sundays at this rate.
You know,
Mo's
Mo's taken Avi's role in calling me out, but what I do know, ratios and maths wise, is there's over 550 of yous, and there's like not even 200 likes. So which means, what's the percentages of that haven't liked it? I don't know, because my percentages, Mo's just destroyed my maths, right? So I'm not even going to try. But I know it's a poor ratio. So can we get some likes up? Because we haven't got to the juicy part. There's certain players that we're dying to talk about. There's certain other games that we're dying to talk about. And we're ready to get into the meat of things. So please get those likes up so we can get really, really into it. And we're going to start getting into it because, Conroy, I'll come back to you. The midfield, the defense, we've discussed. Up front, exciting, right? Luis Diaz. Well, first of all, we get the situation with Jota as a bit of a dampener after Inter Milan, and then we find out that, in fact, we don't find out until after the game, right, about Bobby.
Yeah, the extent of it, yeah.
Right, but the strikers that we do select, Salah, King of Africa, Mane is back. Salah's on the verge of 150 goals, so we know he's going to be hungry. And we've got Luis Diaz at home to Norwich, not making his debut. No, he started in was it his Premier League debut as a starter?
I think so. Did he not?
No, so.
He played against Leicester. He started against Leicester.
Oh, okay.
But we're excited with this three, right? A lot of, how fans are, a lot of shouts are, oh my God, this is the three that we want to see, I don't know why people have their favorites, like as in terms of these are the three, like they watch them in training and how they play as a trio. But it showed these three haven't played together. It showed we didn't have the fullback supplying them with the usual breaking the lines, passing. It all kind of showed. And those three, I felt, suffered as a result in that first half.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going into it as well, Grizz, I don't know if you guys agreed. I felt that I wanted Mane and Salah to get a rest, but I understand, or at least one of them, because of the two injuries. I get it, circumstantial. But I was fearing the worst, not in the sense we wouldn't win, but just I felt they looked a bit laggy the last couple of games. Understandably so, they've played a lot of football and they've just came right back into it. But on that, you can just tell from watching the performance that second half, they were much better, but the fullbacks are key to the play at certain times, and especially when you've maybe not got like a Thiago there who can maybe drop in those spaces and link it up a bit more. When you've got Robbo and Trent, who are, you just when they're not playing to necessarily because they're number one fullbacks. You can see the standard they have. You can just tell that it doesn't link as well. Because I mean, a good example was that against Leicester, we just mentioned Diaz and Robbo looked like they've been playing together for years in the first game. So you can see how pivotal that is to our attack. So that's maybe understandable. Also, as well, they've not played that together. I don't know if they've played specifically that free at all with Mane, Salah, and Diaz.
In terms of any time on the pitch, someone in the chat will know. I can't remember if they've spent any
it's not
minutes
been
on
a
the pitch.
lot. It's not been a lot. So there's still that learning, that gelling, and that will come. It's another front three that we can use. But I felt like you saw that in the first half that we're not quite there yet, and how important the fullbacks were.
Evan, that first half was frustrating. We do, as people have mentioned, we do have chances. Tsimikas misses an absolute sitter, and then as a result, I think that affects him for about half an hour. You can see him nodding his head straight away, and he's the kind of guy that, and also the fact that he's playing with Diaz, which is another new partnership. I think Mo cuts in, has a shot blocked. Salah has a header that he should do much better with. We do have our chances, but what impressed me about Norwich was they didn't come and just sit. Normally, teams come and just sit, but Norwich actually tried to attack us with numbers. Did that surprise us and you? Because it seemed like they had a few situations where they had more numbers than we kind of anticipated, maybe, and could have dealt with better, maybe.
Yeah, I was impressed with what Dean Smith set up, and it was one of those systems and where you start to wonder if they had better players, all due respect to those players, what would the scoreline look like? Because they got into some promising situations. I do want to point out that out of all their chances in the game, only one of them was onside, and that was the one Timo Pukki drags wide. And I'm starting to become conscious of I can't let offside chances rattle me like that because it's not real. It's only because the delay of the flag. And, I think certain people are starting to catch on to that as well. But yeah, I'm impressed by what Dean Smith has done with them. And I was impressed with their setup. I just got done saying, what if they had better players? I think the current crop of players are good. Milo Rashica, as you talked about, is no slouch. We all know what Timo Pukki can do in this league when he's on form. Josh Sargent looks like a bright young player. So they definitely have what it takes to hurt teams. And I'm glad you did talk about Tsimikas as well. That's where I was going to start with the first half. I thought he was a bit off of his game, and I'm not necessarily talking about the sitter. He's a left back. Left backs are going to miss, or they're going to find a way to miss from 6 yards. But and I thought that affected Diaz because I thought maybe this was the first time where Diaz didn't look like he had been here for a year. His other brief cameos for Liverpool, he seemed to slot in very seamlessly. But maybe Tsimikas being a little rusty, maybe a bit out of match fitness, kind of like Ox, maybe that affected him a bit. But yeah, I would prefer it if we didn't concede many high XG chances to Norwich. But I'm glad it was limited to just one in that first half.
Yeah, Mo, frustration first half, I guess, is the order of the day. The crowd a bit quiet in that first half. We just Mo had a few moments. Mo looked on it actually. He's found another way of wooing us in terms of he started. Is it me, guys? Or has he started dribbling far more now in terms of showing us that he's got this. Which way round is it, Conroy? Help me out. Bow to his arrow? Bow to his...
String to his...
String to the bow.
String to the bow, yeah.
String to his bow. We always get that one wrong, Mo. String to his bow. Which way round? Yeah. But another string to his bow.
Yeah.
That he the way he dribbles now. Every time he gets the ball, we don't see much of it. We see his direct running, but Mane, I thought, tried to play that number 9 role the best he could, but you could tell again that he hasn't played there much. And then as a result of that, Diaz suffered because he didn't have sort of the Bobby. Bobby's the controller, isn't he? He makes everyone else feel good about the game. I'm here. You give the ball to me, I'll do a wall pass to you. I'll make you feel the ball. That's Bobby's role, basically. He makes everyone feel good about themselves as well. That's not a slight on Bobby. Bobby's more than that. But what I mean, that's one of his traits. Whereas Mane and Salah are a bit more direct, ruthless. Did it have an adverse effect slightly on Diaz's game, you thought?
I think so. I'm now imagining Bobby as like a greeter at the front of the.
Do you know what I mean?
Inviting everyone in and saying, "Hey, nice to."
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that would totally suit him down to the ground. But you're right. I do think it's just lots of little things being just a little bit off kilter, like you say. Manny, there were a couple of times where you could see he knew what he wanted to do. He's just either the pass was a little under here or a little over here, or he just anticipated someone running the other direction. There were a couple of times where that happened with Diaz and Tsimikas, where one thought one was doing the other thing and he'd run one way and then the ball goes out of play. And then when you're in a period where Norwich is starting to get a little bit more confident in the game, the people around the ground start to get a bit nervous, again, those things become amplified. But I thought we started okay. Like you said, we did create a lot of chances. And we got to remember that Tsimikas chance was in the 5th minute. That goes in, then all those 3-0, 4-0 predictions are going to come true. And I think that's the key to why people predict those. Because, I mean, not just the fact that we've literally beaten Norwich 3-0 twice already this season, but it's just that once we are able to get that first goal early, the game changes completely. Everything opens up for us. It's a lot more relaxed. But teams also know if they can get to 25-30 without conceding, they can turn the tables a little bit and start to put pressure on. And Norwich were hoping for that. And they were waiting for that. And Evan's right. The way that they were planning their game plan was around being able to do that in those key moments. But we were just too good eventually. I think, again, you notice when you're there, the things that people start to get. And like, there was frustration amongst some of the Liverpool players. I think you're right when you said that we weren't anticipating them attacking as much, because there was a couple of times where Henderson and Van Dijk in particular were shouting at people, and it was one of those, come on, what's wrong with you? Why, as if to say, come on, guys, these guys shouldn't be giving you this much trouble. But they sorted it out, as they always do. In-game management seems to be back to the levels that we were expecting at the top of our game. And again, having those people on the bench to come and change it, I was really, really interested in the fact that he decided to go to a strike partnership, put Diaz central, and have Origi alongside him, and then kind of cover for not having those attacking fullbacks by just making Mane and Salah stay wide.
Well, hold your thoughts on the substitutions, because this is where we're going. So look, as you said, we always find a solution, whether it's through game management, whether it's through an incident in a game that gets the crowd up, or even a goal from the opposition, Conroy, totally unexpected out of the blue. I think it's about 5-6 minutes into the second half, is it, guys? They take the lead. An awful sloppy goal. It's one of those goals where, you just think, oh God, a huge deflection and Allison's left stranded, and you think to yourself, we don't need this right now. There's no margin of error here. We can't even drop points to Norwich City. What's going on here? Was there any doubt in your head and mind at that time and thought this is going to be tricky?
There's a slight doubt, but not because it was so early. Someone shout out to Callum Sanderson at Coppish. He made a really good point. He said he was quite confident, a bit like myself. See, if a team's going to score, you want them to score early in that half. So I forget the time, guys, but it's between maybe 55th minute, even just it's around that time, I think, anyway. Because of the earliness, it made me think, right, okay, it might wake us up now. We need to be sharper, because it's not a draw at Norwich would be good enough anyway. But in general, this is must win. Every game's must win. Every game's a cup final. Let's just get back to it. Let's just get on with it now. Let's sharpen up. And I felt like that came at a good time, actually, because it gave us, maybe not instantaneously, but it kind of forced Klopp's hand in to make the substitutions, but inevitably allowed us to get, as we're going to talk about, back in the game. But on the goal, Grizz, yeah, I feel like, do you know what it reminded me of, guys? It reminded me of like old school Liverpool, maybe just when Klopp came in and just before when Rodgers was there, when it felt like, because we didn't have a top keeper, and it's not Alisson's fault at all, but just it felt like sometimes people would have one shot at target and it'd find its way in, even if it was like a savable shot or deflection. And listen, I might be absolutely wrong here. It might just be my memories, but I just remember thinking this team's had one shot and it's went in. So that's what it reminded me of. But as you say, it's not the keeper's fault at all. Ox has got to do better. He's got to burst the gut there to stop the shot. And if he doesn't, like Matip, it's one of them. It's like, I'm not a centre back, right? So it's like he's putting a leg out. Someone might argue he should go all out for it, or at least if he puts something out, it's better than nothing. But I don't know if he doesn't touch it, it goes in the keeper's arms. But for me, he could do more there as well. So I think those two, if you're going to blame anyone, are the ones at fault. However, I wasn't worried.
I was going to come to Evan next, but I'm going to come to Mo for the reason because he was there. Evan, I beg your pardon, Evan. Sorry, Mo. When I said that sometimes some things or incidents get Liverpool going and the crowd going, that was the trigger, wasn't it? Because from then, the crowd just turned into the Anfield that we want, that we desire, that we need, that we thrive on. The players, the coach. Many teams would crumble, had a slog in midweek, Champions League into Milan. You look around, you haven't got Trent to come on, you haven't got Jota to come on, Bobby come on, but you have got a couple of players that are absolute magicians to come on. Did you feel that vibe in the ground at the time? That's why I wanted to come to you at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting because you saw the good and bad of the Anfield crowd, because I think there was quite a bit of what Conroy was saying when that goal went in, where there were a lot of people saying, oh God, not in this one, here we go. And all of the little things that could be maybe dismissed as passes just almost was there, not quite. Suddenly it's like, oh God, why can't you find it? And I mean, there were a couple of people behind me that I had to kind of a couple of times. But the funny thing about it is that it was the substitutions, and it wasn't even just the fact that they came on and played well, because they did play well. It was seeing them on the sidelines. It was seeing Thiago come on and everyone go, yes, this is what this game needs. And everybody, to a man, every Liverpool fan around was just like, yes, this is the right decision. Putting him into this pitch is what we want. If you ask me, these are the games we bought him for, against teams who've got something to hold on to, who aren't going to do a lot of attacking, who are going to just sit in front of our defence and say, come on then, what have you got? Well, we've got Thiago, and everybody in that ground knew it. And he didn't take long to show it either. And I think that helped. But yeah, the time between that substitution and Salah's goal was the best atmosphere I've seen at Anfield, where it's been light for about 5 or 6 years. Wow.
Diogo Jose Teixeira da Silva, magnificent name. One of the best names I've ever read out. Grizz, what's your thoughts on Jurgen saying that Pep Linders advised him to go 4-4-2? I think that changed the game. Evan, earlier, my friend Fahim wanted your opinion on Thiago, so it coincides with this super chat as well. Not only did Thiago come on, but I think we're forgetting Lord Divock Origi comes on at the same time, which means a total revamp in system. So we see that Thiago and Henderson form a double pivot in midfield. We see Mane goes to his customary left. Salah goes to Salah's on the right. And then Diaz is shifted as a mobile false nine behind Divock Origi. Did you like that? You thought, oh, I like this. Did you think this is it now? We're going all guns blazing, baby.
Mm-hmm. Before I answer that, Grizz, I think I should thank you for deferring to Mo on that last question, because you shouldn't ask the American fan what he thought about the vibe of the atmosphere. And what could have been better? You might have just scared me. So thank you.
Yeah.
How loud is your scream?
You know me and my foresight. I thought, okay, hold on, just hold the fire there.
Elite management of the panel there. Great man management. Listen, for the second game running, Jurgen Klopp makes some world-class substitutions. He sensed the game was getting away from us, and listen, we could see that as well. And this is a more drastic switch. You know, at the San Siro, we just sort of started to lose the midfield battle a bit. We're down a goal, and it's win or go home in this title race.
Literally.
We're down a goal. We're at home. We're underperforming. So we need at least 2 goals. And it is a more dramatic switch. We're talking about a formation change here. Is it a 4-4-2? Is it a 4-2-3-1? I would argue that the formations these days are essentially the same thing. Formations are very fluid. But the big change is it's a 2-man midfield and more multi-pronged attack. And I thought it was great. It was great because it produced such instantaneous results, right? And, you know, we'll get into the specifics of the goals later, but I was laughing to myself because I was so stressed out. I was like, oh, great. Now we've got these goals and we're in ultra attack mode and we got to see the game out. So, yeah, but credit to Jurgen Klopp. The subs were incredible. What I will say about Thiago, and I guess now I'm going to answer Fahim's question. What Thiago guarantees you, or what he guarantees us at least, he's not always going to hit the killer ball or the final ball, but he guarantees a siege of the opponent's box. And when Liverpool are not playing at their usual tempo, with their usual sharpness, players are rusty, out of position, out of form, everything we've already touched upon, we struggle to camp out in the other team's half. It's a struggle just to get 20 to 30 yards outside their box consistently. Thiago, with his composure, with his experience, with his skill, with his technique, whatever attribute you want to talk about, he essentially guarantees a siege. And for me, that's why we're so successful with him and Fabinho. We have the security and the composure that Fabinho brings with everything I just listed about Thiago. So, but Fahim, if you don't want to comprise all of that into a WhatsApp message to your friend, I totally understand. And, you know, all due respect to your friend, I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but if he requires an explanation as to why Thiago Alcantara is a great footballer, he might be a lost cause, but hopefully I've enlightened him a little bit.
Again, brilliant segue into super chat. Brilliant segue. I love the way these segues happen. It's pure natural, guys. I learned
from the best, Grizz. You're a man.
Guys, I don't plan it this way. Pimp in distress. I hope you're not in too much distress, my friend. Says Grizz, got an address I can send Turkish and LFC shirt with Thiago 6 on the back. Changed the game when he came on. Facts. He absolutely did. Conroy, he changed the game. They come on at sort of the 62nd minute. And 2 minutes later, we get a goal. But the goal doesn't involve Thiago as such. It involves a ball out from Henderson. One of 2 brilliant balls that we noticed, but he played well generally. And the aforementioned Tsimikas, where we said, you know, he was frustrated with his miss and maybe his own personal performance for a little while in the first half. But I thought we saw the real Tsimikas in the second half, going backwards and frontwards. The amount of times he had to cover and chase back as well. That Josh Sargent did give him a hard time, but Tsimikas was up for it most of the time. Very intelligent header. And Sadio Mane finally makes brilliant contact with one of his many attempts at an overhead kick. The crowd erupts. We pay salutations to the King of Africa. He's welcomed back to Anfield as the King of Africa, and he gets us back in the game. And what timing? 30 minutes to go.
Yeah, outstanding. Just a very important goal. A goal that,
as Mane's goals usually tend to be.
Yeah, but certain people step up, and we're going to talk about Mo with 150. We'll talk about Allison's assist. We'll talk about all that. We'll talk about Diaz's first goal. And I don't want that. That's great and that's brilliant. But it's important to know that when you make it 1-1, momentum is everything. I say it all the time in this podcast, momentum is everything. That goal is the most important goal yesterday. You can say what you want about the rest. I think we would have scored hook or by crook another way to win the game, but getting back in and getting that goal for me was massive. And as you said, Mo, it got the crowd going even further when I went in. I just think it's an outstanding goal. Like, I don't think we're actually, it's not getting talked about enough. I really don't think it is. Like, it's an outstanding goal. It's an overhead kick that, because footballers have scored it a lot, it doesn't mean it's easy to do. You know, the ball's coming across, he times it perfectly. I mean, you look at the Inter Milan one, he had lots of time and he didn't do very well with that one. It's an outstanding finish, massive goal, could be absolutely monumental in the season of what we could achieve because of that goal. And I think Eunice, who's always in the chat, said earlier, relief. That's how I felt when Mane scored, just relief Nothing else. I know like people can go on about excitement, but for me, relief. That's how I felt when that went in.
Something else around that goal as well that I really liked, the Henderson ball, because like you say, Tsimikas has struggled. It basically tells him what to do. It's not a ball where it's like he can control it, look up, go around. It's a ball that's coming to him. It's like, okay, just head it on. And that's all he did. And with Mane, like you were saying with his overhead kicks, with this one, he kind of modified it a little bit. He kind of kept his eye on it just for a little bit longer, just so he could do that kind of side turn. And that's why I think he was able to connect as well. But my favorite thing of the whole thing, just like you were saying, Conroy, that was the goal that we needed to get everything else going. Mane's reaction to the goal, like someone in the chat, I forget who mentioned it, was the first Anfield goal for 3 months. You'd expect him to maybe celebrate a little bit. Nope. He basically ran straight back to the halfway line. And he ran back with that angry Mane face. Yeah. And I love angry Sadio. I honestly
man on a mission face.
Yeah. I mean, like, he is the calmest, most humble, generous man in the world. But when he's angry, y'all better watch out. And
absolutely.
That's exactly what Norwich got. And seeing that on his face, that kind of made me think, oh, okay, yeah. So the next goal's coming. And it was literally, seconds later.
It was seconds later. And you speak about an angry Mane. And Evan, we know, as Mo says, and as Conor has touched upon, the amount of times this guy has scored the vital goal, whether it's an equalizer or whether it's a winner or whether it's an opening goal. I just can't pay enough compliments to this guy and his mentality. We always talk about his talent. We always talk about his unpredictability. We talk about everything in terms of his physical prowess and everything. It's not enough talked about his mentality as an absolute diehard warrior, and that epitomized the goal. But someone else who epitomizes a lot of those traits, and someone else who didn't come back as a champion from Africa, but really came back angry, was Mohamed Salah. And if Mo described the feeling of Anfield as one of the best he's in that period he's sort of experienced, it brings me back to the Man United game where I was at, and I remember it still like it was yesterday because it was so beautiful when Allison done something very similar and played the ball out to Mohamed Salah, who outstripped them all with pace, strength, tenacity, and a calm finish. This wasn't as poetic and as routine as that, but still took me through the Allison assist, which made him go above Jadon Sancho for 24 hours in the assist league. Very quickly, the only reason I mentioned that was because Polo FC says, can't help watching Sancho and wish we got him. We've moved on, Polo. Please, let's not go back there. Talk me through that goal from Allison to Mo to the ecstasy.
Normally, I hate cross sports comparisons, but it does feel good to have Tom Brady playing in goal for Liverpool Football Club. he just sees his runner and he just boom. And yeah, obviously, Allison said run it back to an iconic moment in our lives as Liverpool fans. And there was no fear of Mo being offside. Sometimes I hesitated to celebrate the Mane bicycle kick because, as we could see, it was marginal. But
can I just one button? I hate butting with you because you're always in the flow, and I hate doing this. And maybe I'm starting doing this on purpose because you're so good. But you know that point you made about Mo Salah never threat being offside. That is an attribute of his that is untalked about. It's not talked about enough. He's so intelligent at remaining offside. The amount of times that our forwards are not caught offside as many as other players, as other teams. Mo Salah watches that line like a hawk, and it's an absolute skill and an art. I'm so sorry, I will not interrupt.
No, yeah, I'm glad you did, because when commentators are getting annoyed at a player who's getting offsides like frequently, it's like, well, he's got the pace, he can give him an extra yard. That advice is not lost on Mohamed Salah. He was probably told that at a very young age, and he took it to heart because, like you said, he's very rarely offsides. And, you can't question the mentality of these guys. You guys said you loved an angry Sadio Mane. I'm scared of an angry Mohamed Salah. I mean, I'm sure we all remember there was a phase in 1819 where he stopped celebrating for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it sent the Twitter conspiracy theorists into a frenzy. But God, I remember that hat trick away to Bournemouth. He just did not celebrate a single one. Scores the hat trick clinching goal. Looks back at Steve Cook the entire time, who tried to hack him down on the halfway line.
Yeah.
So angry Mohamed Salah, very good. Scary for our rivals, but not our problem. It's an incredible goal. It's a goal I'll talk about, when I'm describing to my grandkids what Allison was like. Fantastic in every category, not a single hole in his game, and that goes into distribution as well. And just when you thought maybe Mo's first touch didn't take him towards goal, it didn't continue with his momentum, he brings it out of the sky, dodges both center backs, takes Angus Gunn completely out of the equation, and then rolls it into the corner where Grant Hanley just isn't standing. There's a great moment in our victory at the Etihad in 17-18 in the second leg of that Champions League tie, where Salah chips Otamendi after taking it around Ederson. He chipped Otamendi, and Otamendi is just left stranded on the floor, and then he just falls down in complete defeat. Grant Hanley and James McLean did a bit of that between them too. So I love those where you just leave the defenders looking to the heavens, but incredibly impressive goal all around. And obviously I wasn't there, and Mo speaks to how big that was for the atmosphere and just what it did for the mood. Sometimes it's so electric you can hear it through your television speakers. You can tell that it's different. Like the initial roar just hits different, as the kids say. And that was the goal that I played back the most when I was watching the highlights later that evening. You could tell it was special. Fantastic goal.
None of your business. I'm used to his name now. It took me a little while, but I'm used to it now. I got him now. He tried to catch me out loads of times. Evening, gents. Great weekend's results. Who do you think Klopp will start against a struggling Leeds midweek with the cup final at the weekend? Will he keep the same fullbacks in midfield or rotate again? None of your business. Sorry, I didn't mean to say none of your business. I'm just calling your name out.
I thought you said he didn't catch you out.
I know.
He just got
we will discuss that, so don't go anywhere. We will discuss that. Just a couple of super chats I want to get out of the way before we get into the end of the game. Grizz, any news about Salah's contract? Can you do me a favor and ask him to sign it ASAP, please? On to him. As soon as the show finishes, I'm emailing him. Dinesh Karai says, we have Origi back. He will come on and we will speak about Mr. Lord Divock Origi as well. Mo, at that stage, you must have been hugging everyone around you and sort of fist pumping and no, this is it. We've done it. We're not letting this slip now. We just need the icing on the cake. Mo scored. Mane scored. The third member of the strike force. Top it off. And does he top it off? Absolute cherry on top. The pass from the Henderson and the finish on his wrong foot and the audacity of it, the cheekiness of it, the ingenuity of it. Talk me through that.
I really loved it all. And yeah, you're right. It maybe not in the immediate aftermath of Salah's goal because I was still thinking, rah! But yeah, that was the thing for the last 10, 15 minutes was like, can Lewis get a goal? And it had been a struggle at times for him early on in the game. I think Max Aarons has done a really good job on him at times. But the thing that I liked about it was we saw a different bit of what he can do because more often than not, we think about what we've seen from him from Porto. He's running with the ball, he's dribbling from out to in, he's cutting inside, he's having a shot. This time it was his movement without the ball that created the goal. And that was something that clearly the Norwich defenders weren't anticipating. But Henderson certainly was. He knew that run was coming and he knew exactly how to play him in. And once he was in position, there was no nerves, there was nothing. It was just a beautiful clip finish, exactly what we needed to happen. And yeah, he's up and running now. So we have someone else who's going to have a lot of confidence going forward for the end of the season. But I really think once he gets acclimatized to playing in our system, he's going to give us so much more options of ways we can play and problems we can cause the opposition. I just can't wait.
Conroy, our recruitment team have done it again, haven't they? They've actually done it again. I mean, there's no ifs and buts. I know we've discussed Luis Diaz in great detail, but just they've done it again. Like, we have to sit back and applaud these people that are in charge of our recruitment and analysis and everything, because seamlessly that was his even though it's his only third appearance, I think, or fourth max. I think second start, but third appearance or maybe fourth.
Fourth, yeah,
But
because
fourth appearance.
yeah,
Yeah, he came on as a sub in the first game, didn't he?
yeah, against Cardiff, yeah.
Cardiff. That was probably his roughest game in terms of positionally, personnel-wise, team-wise. New setup, new attack. But to score that goal still in the way he did into the cup, it just shows you he's ready for this team. He's ready for this level, and Klopp believes in that as well. He's going to be a huge signing, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was very important as well. After Leicester, you see all the montages. That's what happens. But it's never plain sailing when you come to a new team. Like Fabinho literally took 3 months to get adapted to Premier League. So he's done very well. But I thought it was very good that moment happened, because it showed us that I think we're sleeping a bit on that finish. Like I feel like if that's Salah or Mane in the first time we've seen him, and I know, listen, they've scored some great goals, but to me that's I didn't think he's. I don't. The jury's still out if Diaz is an absolute killer in front of goal. But to me, that's like a killer finish, if you know what I mean, because he knows what he's doing. He takes the keeper completely out of the way. Some people are saying Suarez-esque. I think that's good. I'll be honest, it'd be unpopular, but I don't know. See, like, remember when Michael Owen first got in the team and he used to chip keepers all the time? That's what it reminded me of. That it just basically nullifies the goalkeeper. I think it was very important that the goal came in that game, because, as Mo said, wasn't a great game from him. But who cares? No one's going to remember that now. They're just going to remember the first goal. And then I feel like that he can kick on. Because if you look at the games he's played now, he's had an impact in every game. And that can just kind of a positive note for the Leeds game coming up. I think it's a great moment for him, and an exquisite finish that really isn't as easy as it looks as well. Really, really impressive. We've seen how much, as Mo said, when he uses on his right foot. But for him to come on his left foot and do that, it's just, again, I'm going to say the phrase we always say, Grizz, but it's another string to our bow to have someone like that. And if he can have finishing like Jota, and to add to how good Salah is at finishing now as well, and then with Mane's ability to score important goals as well and his effectiveness for the team, I mean, we're cooking with gas, guys. Like, it's ridiculous. And for the amount of tournaments and we're competing on all fronts, it's amazing. And back to the analytical side, Grizz, I'll be honest, I think it's getting harder for us to pull these signings off. There's definitely, there is more teams and clubs are onto it now, but I felt like, again, a little bit more money that's going to happen with the previous signings we've had. But to me, I think it'll be another outstanding signing. And yeah, just everything in our team, it just adds everything. Like, if he comes on, he'll cut in, and we've got Robbo or Shimikas who's running down the left, which will allow the space for him to come in and get a shot away, which is one of his strengths. There's so many things he can add to this team, playing in the 4-4-2 as well. It's depth, guys. Depth of outstanding players is we're not used to it, and it's a great feeling.
Just before we move on to sort of the game and the other game and what we're so excited about, I just wanted to get Mo's and Evan's opinion, because I have often said that I do actually see Diaz as playing in that role long term. And I said it before he joined us. You guys used to all know. I actually see him developing into the new Bobby or Bobby's replacement more than I see Jota there. I still see Jota there, absolutely, but I still see Jota equally as effective from the left. Did you guys see anything in his skill set? Do you guys see anything in his skill set? Not necessarily yesterday afternoon, but generally that suggests to you that he could just be, another multifaceted, someone's a multi-pronged, multifaceted, multi-skilled attacker that can actually play in that central position.
Yes, but I do think that skill-wise, he definitely has the ability. Finishing-wise, he has the ability. In terms of his intelligent movement, yes. 2 issues I potentially see. 1, I think there's a level of physicality that is necessary to play up front in the Premier League. Obviously, Jota does it slightly differently. He's kind of scrappy and probably a lot stronger than we all realize to be able to play it the way he's able to back in at times. And Diaz is obviously going to have to deal with that. That's part of this kind of getting to know the league period that we're going to see for most of this season. I believe next season we're going to see a different version of him. But as Conroy said, it's another string to the bow. I think it's something we might see every now and then. With Jota, I agree with you. I don't think we're going to try and make him the new Bobby. I think when Jota plays in the 9, he's going to be it's a slightly different, slightly modified version of what we do. So maybe if they are looking for a quick, straight up replacement, he might be able to do it. But I don't know. I mean, we might be in a situation where once the real thing retires, we don't need a guy doing the Bobby stuff. Maybe we're going to be thinking about other ways of doing it. I mean, we don't know what, once Diaz and Jota, for example, have had a year of playing alongside each other, who knows what we're going to look like.
Evan, Mo makes a good point, and we've discussed this, haven't we? We discussed it many times before about sort of the evolution of our attack and the way we attack. And I don't want to go back to Thiago.
Yeah, you do.
I must, because Thiago was bought last summer, wasn't he? And Jota as well. And we are so unfortunate the way that season panned out. But we are now seeing the vision of our coaches, the vision of our recruiting, that Thiago and Jota were brought in to take this attack to a new height that we are now seeing. And it was just so unfortunate that we didn't have the foundation. The foundations were ripped from underneath us because of the injuries and everything. We never got to see it. But now, not only do we have that foundation and we now finally have Thiago and Jota evolved, we've just added one of the most fluid, dangerous attackers in Europe to that mix. It's an amazing time to be a Liverpool fan right now.
We're so good at buying players. It's the very least I expect anytime we dip our toes into the market. It's gotten to the point where any guy with a Liverpool FC like name badge and a laptop could convince me we need to go get Ashley Barnes. I don't think I would say anything. It's for me to see Diaz.
That's similar to the Jared Bowen one at the start of the season, mate. You had people pulling their hair out.
Jared Bowen's looking like a player.
You know, now that tune's changed.
Yeah, he's looking like a player.
Yeah.
Listen, but with Diaz, I think he's just going to be great no matter where you play him, because I think the skill set is so wide. We know Mane can do a job through the middle, and he has certain striker-like attributes, such as a vertical leap in the heading ability to play in the number 9. I think Diaz, in terms of his skill set, is very similar to a younger Mane. So I think what we can expect from him is everything we've come to expect from Sadio Mane. So I just think he's got the athleticism. He's got like a type of wiry strength to him. I know he's a very lean guy, but for me, coming up against guys like that in similar build when I was playing, they were always exceptionally strong somehow. But it's the broad-shouldered, lanky guys. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And listen, you're right. We are starting to see what the thought process was behind Thiago and Jota. Even though Jota hit the ground running, we didn't see the full vision. We didn't see the full plan. And I've been really impressed with the types of goals Jota's been able to score when he's been playing through the middle, more poacher-like, Fowler-esque. And there's a very valid argument to be made that once Liverpool became more of a cross-based team post 2018, maybe someone like Jota, less like Firmino, would be the next evolution of this team. I never quite agreed when fans would cry out for an out-and-out number 9 every single summer since Bobby Firmino's joined the team. I never fully agreed with that, but having a hybrid kind of like Jota, a guy who can do some left wing and some through the middle, a guy who's going to do some high-flying winger stuff and the poacher things, I've been impressed with that. As if that is the next evolution, if that is the full vision of the plan, then I think it's been a masterstroke. And listen, the numbers for Thiago when he starts with Fabinho, the numbers speak for themselves. We're an unbeatable team, and I back us to win anything and everything in world football when those two are playing together.
The evolution.
I like that.
Trademark that.
Yeah. Writing it down.
Next to Avalanche and Evolution.
Oh, yeah, Avalanche and the Evolution. Yeah. Adams, thank you for the super chat. Says saying Thiago is a fraud or flop is just like saying Sancho is a flop. Beautiful techie footballers. I had to get that one in there. I'm shameless. Please keep Sancho's name far, far, far away from Thiago. I'm joking. I like Sancho, but still keep it far, far, far away. There was one other super chat that sort of I wanted to speak about, and sorry, I'll tell you what it was. The one about Trent. Have you got that one there? Trent rattling the fan base because
Yeah, that was earlier on. I saw.
Because the reason for that. See if you can find me that, Conroy, please. The reason why I wanted to speak about that is we done our job. We done our job, Mo, and by hook or by crook, by the end, the history books will say 3-1 win at home. All the front three scored. Liverpool, what an amazing, comfortable win. That was routine win. They scored an own goal. We scored an own goal. It was one of those afternoons. People at the game know it was slightly different, like yourself. But the feeling of sort of jubilant, that jubilant feeling was only going to continue one way, Mo. And that was, now it's time, because it's the first time we've actually played before Man City in a long, long time. This was the first time we were in a position to put a bit of pressure on them, because normally it was the other way around. Yep. We were always chasing them, and we've shown them with 6 wins in a row, 7 wins in a row now, that we ain't going anywhere. This was the first time, just like Trent, and I don't know if we can find that super chat. Conroy, have we not found it yet?
I can't find it now. Is it definitely a super chat, Grizz?
Yeah, you started. I think you definitely started as well. But
yeah, whoever it was, if you just put it in again, I'll check.
Exactly. Apologies to the guy if we can't find it. But he said something along the lines of, Grizz, what do you think about Trent rattling Man City, and then Carl Walker doing a response wearing his England cap or something silly like that? Not only was that cringy, right? A, but B, we are definitely in their headspace, aren't we, Mo? As things, the way panned out, Man City bottled it again against Tottenham Hotspur. There you go. Liam Kenny with the super chats. Can we just take a moment to appreciate Trent rattling City, resulting in Walker's cringy vid and then them getting pumped? Hashtag 20, here we go.
Well, Kyle Walker, for starters, he doesn't learn, does he? Every time he tries to say something funny or
backfires
about Liverpool, pie to the face. But yeah, I wonder how aware they were of the nature of our game. I mean, obviously they were doing preparation for their game. I don't know whether or not they knew.
They watched it. Mo, they watched that shit.
Yeah,
I know. Pep has nightmares about us. We're a pain in the ass. Come on.
He's sitting there with his phones. Like, he's got automatic. So and these things do kind of maybe only 2 or 3%, but they do ramp up the pressure. Then you add into the fact that it's Spurs, and for whatever reason, whenever Man City and Guardiola face Spurs, they get scared, and then they aren't able to do what they do normally. And I think part of it is because they know that Spurs have a game plan that works, and you see it. There are a few teams who can trouble City regularly, and the thing with Spurs is that it's 5 different managers now that they've beaten Man City, and they don't all play the same way. But what it is that it's the attitude you take into the game. It's being not scared of Man City. Man City is so used to everyone being scared of them. When they find someone away, they can't react in the right way. But it was really interesting. Like, we were all in the pub enjoying a very nice win of our own. Obviously, the game's on in the background, but the sound's not on the TV. We're all having our own chats, discussing the game, chopping it up. Spurs score. Oh, that was nice, isn't it? But it's like, oh, God, it's Spurs. You know what I mean? They scored so early. Obviously, we know what's going to happen. That's the chat. Dissipates. We all get back to our conversation. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, City equalised. Well, there you go. What did we tell you? Blah, 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 blah. Then Spurs score again. And we're like, oh, okay. They are going to give them some trouble. And then suddenly you're watching it a little bit more, and suddenly you're kind of turning your conversation.
No. You forgot by now. You've forgotten your crowd. By now, you've forgotten your mates. You've just completely turned.
Like the point where we all completely gave up and stopped pretending we were talking to each other. Like, that's it. The 3-1 goal where we thought they had 3-1 and then they got to give them offside. That was the point where it's like, okay, can you turn the sound on the TV, please?
Yeah. And can you guys turn your sound down, lads? Yeah. Can you turn that sound up, please?
Oh, so by the end, right, we were all like, there was like 40 or 50 people in this pub, all on their phones refreshing because the stream was so slow. We weren't sure if the game had ended yet. So we were like, is it ended yet? Is it ended yet? Is it ended yet? And then when it ends, oh my God. Like,
Scenes, limbs.
Sometimes I feel a little bit, I don't know, embarrassed sometimes about celebrating other teams' victories, but not this time. Like, there was none of that. There was no kind of like unease about it. We were going nuts. And I think it's because for so long now, over the last 2, 3, 4 months, whatever, the thing that we keep hearing is that, yeah, Liverpool are good, but I just don't see City dropping that many points. I just don't see it happening. Well, look, it's happened, and it will probably happen again because I know that these two teams have made football look like it's not jeopardy any longer, but it is jeopardy. Like, go to rewind it all the way right back to the beginning. I don't want a regular week of Barclays. Nah, let's have this.
Unbelievable. I mean, look, it's one of those things, and I want to speak about one player because it's not right. It's not fair to talk about one player, Conroy, because it's a team effort, and I never thought it was possible. But the only two things that kept making me think it's possible, like Mo says, that it was Spurs, not the Spurs that we know that's against the majority of the other teams, but Spurs against City in itself. That aspect. Antonio Conte very rarely loses 4 games in a row, wherever he is, whatever he's done in his life. And Harry Kane's scenario, especially the chase from City, City wanting him at the start of the season, doing everything they can, offering him big bucks, but that deal, just something in the back of my head thought there is something that could possibly happen in this game. To be honest with you, at best I thought a draw, but Jean-René and Shuti says City struggle with an effective counterattack. Son, Kane, Mora, Kulusevski, too rapid when they're on it. It's deadly. I want to pick out Harry Kane, and I thought it was an absolute brilliant performance from Harry Kane. Not single-handedly, but he was almost like a man on a mission. You can speak briefly on Harry Kane. You can pick out anyone else you want to pick out on that Spurs. Go for it.
No, absolutely. We'll start with Harry Kane. I think it was a masterclass from Kane. He's getting a lot of flack. He's not had a good season, but he was absolutely tremendous. A lot of different channels are talking about what is he worth now because of this season. Well, if there was any doubt, and I'm not saying he's going to be a 100 million player, but he's still going to have a hefty price tag this summer if anyone's looking for him, because when he's on it, he's absolute, like, he is the most clinical, or he's up there because Aguero's left, or the finisher in this league. Like, he is up there. He is an absolute killer in front of goal, and especially his link up with a lot of teams. So I just thought I'd add that first. But on the way he played, I think we all have to remember that he didn't have a lot of the ball yesterday. So see the highlights you're seeing, that's not like cherry picking. That's how good his ball retention or his movement was, his passing, because he didn't have a lot of the ball to do that. He was so effective when he had it. I'm sorry, Grizz, I'm not meant to go on, but that first goal, that pass is a world-class pass. For me, that's one of the... Maybe I'm exaggerating, but I think to know where Son is there, and they had worked in it, so that's a shout-out to Antonio Conte, who is one of the best managers in this league, without a doubt. If anyone doubted that, I don't know why you would. He's just unbelievable. And they planned that because they knew City would push that high. So that's all on the training field. But to pull off that pass, that telepathy with Son, just unreal. I just thought yesterday he just reminded people that, I'm still here. I'm not done yet. So I think that'll be interesting in the summer. If someone like City or other teams go for him, I think that could potentially still happen. So on that, I think it worked brilliantly. I would add to the comment, no, we tend to do this as Liverpool fans, and in fans, because we just see City beat teams like it's a copy and paste every week. There's not one way to beat them. It's not like try that and you'll win. Like Tottenham's game plan worked out perfectly. If other teams could try that next week and get beaten 5-0 as well, like there are certain things that have to go your way, because it's a double-edged sword. You could do that and then get exposed as well. So you have to plan it right. However, I just thought overall, Kane, out of this world. Shout out to, I can't pronounce his name, Grizz, but this
Kulusevski.
everyone was like, this guy, be bang average. Well, I'll tell you what, see that cross for Kane in the last minute? That's a perfect cross, and no one's speaking about that. He's literally done it like a golf wedge, which has caught the two centre-backs kind of in no man's land for Kane to head in. So I feel like he deserves a shout-out. I was very impressed with him as well. His work rate yesterday. I think the comment said that as well. But overall, the title race is on because of that. We've got our job to do on Wednesday, but fair play to Spurs. We needed that because it wasn't in our hands. So fair play. They've done us a favour.
We 100% did. Just very quickly, Sustainable Shooter says, Grizz, can I get your thoughts on Romero from a Spurs fan? I thought this guy was magnificent, and I rated him at Atlanta as well. He's an old school brawler, very strong, very, the old Argentinian centre backs. He's in that mold, but can play as well. He's a perfect Conte player, a perfect Conte centre back. And considering, think about it, guys, it took a fucking awful error from Hugo Lloris to get them back in it, and then a penalty to score their second goal. So you have to give credit, a lot of credit to the defense and the organization setup of Conte. Mo.
Yes, but we have to remember Romero played very well. Why did he put his hand up there? Honestly, like I can't pretend like I wasn't cursing his name and every single person in his family when he did that. But he was we have to understand he was great for the rest of the game. And the thing
he did. That was annoying. He had such a good game. That ruined
exactly.
it. I know what you mean.
It's just like, oh.
But guys, I'm gonna defend him here. Like, how are you supposed to do that, Mo? With
not
your
like
hands?
That. Like there's a way.
No, you do. When you slide.
But the thing is, though, there's a slide and then there's a letting your arms go. But that's a movement into like. He knows he's going down, and he knows that when he moves his hand there, he's hitting the ball. He's hitting the ball on purpose to stop the ball going beyond him. Let's not pretend that he hasn't. He definitely has, because that's that old school of defending.
I think it's hard to defend it, Grizz, because if you don't give it, then it's like I think there'd be more issues if you didn't give that. If you know what I mean?
No. I accept. I accept the giving of the penalty. I accept that the right decision. I get that. I just think Romero it's very difficult to slide. You got to remember it's wet. You got to balance. You need to raise your hands. If it was blatantly intentional, then
he's tired. It's the end of the game. He doesn't want this one chance to get by him after playing so well. So he has a weak moment where he puts his arm up, and it nearly cost him, but it didn't. Like he will never admit it out loud. But if you and him and I were in the pub right now, and I was chatting to him, I was like, "Come on."
He probably was after the result, to be fair.
Exactly. Right now, he probably does. But I think it's really interesting how much better Romero played with Eric Dyer there. And I've given Eric Dyer so much crap over the years. But someone else pointed out that he seems to be the glue in that defense. He's the warrior, because you need a warrior in your defense. This is the thing I always say about Liverpool. We don't worry enough. And that's why we get into some of these kind of too cool for school passing situations, like the one against Norwich where the ball deflected back into Allison's hand from Van Dijk, and I was just like, did we need to do that? Did we really? But, I mean, obviously that's part of the plan, and I'll park all of those neuroses for now. But with Spurs, because Romero is so headstrong, so front foot, and if you look at Davinson Sanchez, he plays the same way. You need the guy who's always thinking about the worst case scenario. And I would maintain if you put Dyer next to Sanchez, he looks better, because Dyer's always anticipating, okay, he might do something stupid or he might not do what he wants to do. So where do I need to be if that happens? His head is always on that mode, and you need a defender like that when you have someone so strong on the front foot. So I think Dyer allowed Romero to go out and do that front foot defending. But I do agree with you guys about Kane. I think the thing that I find really interesting is that he knew that everyone was going to be talking about him before this game. He knew all of what had happened. He knew his performance was going to be scrutinized to the nth degree, and he was able to bring it to the table. He was able to say, look, this is me. I am Harry Kane. I can still do this. Question I have, could he still do it every week for a season? Because he hasn't for a while. So before I would spend £150 million, whatever it will take to get him, I'd be asking that question. However, in games like this, where sometimes maybe you have a player who's like, if you can win me 4 or 5 big games, then maybe that's worth it. I don't know. And with City, you can almost say that they'll be able to ride him not playing every week. Or maybe they'd have to play him every week if they paid 150. I don't know. Maybe this could be the card that brings down the whole empire. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit... Maybe it's too late already.
No. I absolutely agree with most of what you said. My blood pressure raised a little bit when you mentioned Davinson Sanchez.
I saw that, Chris.
You saw it, didn't you?
Emerson Royale as well. I'll say that.
Yeah, couple of
Jesus.
Yeah, just very quickly.
There's no saving that guy. I'm sorry.
Just very quickly. Someone's a regular in the chat says Suarez played like that every week, 13, 14 levels. I think probably he's referring to
Kane, maybe
Kane, maybe
the Kane performance. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up this comment, made me smile. Some brilliant chat. Defenders are bangers and mash. You need one banger, one mash. One guy who bangs into everyone and one guy who mashes all box into the box. And then he's given some examples. Then he's given examples. Carragher, banger, Hippier mash. Ibu, banger, VVD, mash, brilliant.
100%. I agree with this.
Some brilliant chat. Listen, guys, Evan, it's the result we needed. We needed some light. Okay, we were getting glimmerings of light from the Liverpool because we are Liverpool and we don't give up and we keep fighting. But we needed something from the other side. So when you look through a dark tunnel and you've got a light yourself, then you can keep going because you've got a light. But when you fucking see a light at the other side, my God, your steps get quicker and you start believing. And we've seen a light at the end of the other tunnel. Evan, how you feeling, bro?
I started the morning off knee sliding because we completed a comeback at home against 20th place Norwich. And I ended my morning knee sliding a Harry Kane masterclass, a guy who I do not care for at all, but I loved him. I loved him yesterday. If there was any doubts over whether or not Harry Kane's the best striker in the league, they were dispelled the other day. I thought what I saw from him against City was a reminder. The numbers won't show it, but I am one of the best players in the world still. I struggle to see a system or a team that he does not complement. He could look good in 2010 Barcelona and he could look good in 2022 Burnley. He is just an incredibly gifted player, the most gifted striker of a ball I've seen in my lifetime. Both feet. I just think he's incredible. Nothing but good things to say about Harry Kane as a player, less as a person, but he got the job done for us the other day. Yeah, Pep has left the door open a crack, and we've wedged a toe in, haven't we? It's now back in our hands, as people like to say. Though I think when it's back in your hands at the mercy of goal difference, we're stretching the definition of that a bit. It becomes a bit of a stretch because for me, when people say back in your hands, that means we win all of our games, we're champions. There is a world in which we win all of our games and aren't champions. So for me, that's not back in your hands per se, but the title race is back on. And obviously as Liverpool fans, we're thrilled. I think the neutrals should embrace this as well. Do we want the Premier League to become a Bundesliga when we're looking at the Wikipedia page in 20 years time and we just see City, 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 Liverpool, City, 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 City? That's not good for the league. I think this makes things interesting, and I'm really impressed with the way that we've mentally been able to come to grips with our situation. We had our blip in December and January, and now we're right back here in the conversation. We did need a favor from somebody. I never usually watch Man City games. 18-19 ruined me. I cannot watch City games and hoping that Chris Wood's gonna knee home a winner in the 95th minute. I cannot do that to myself. I did tune into this game because, as we've already established, that's their bogey team. Doesn't matter who's managing, who's playing. That's Man City's kryptonite. That isn't wearing red. That's their kryptonite. I'm so glad you touched on how cringy Kyle Walker's response video was, but it couldn't have been cringier than getting dunked on in the 95th minute by Harry Kane. Nothing cringier than that defending. Listen, it's a horrible look. It's every fullback's nightmare. You're watching the cross come in, you're getting ready to do something to it, and then someone just from right in front of you, just heads it in. It's the worst look in defending, in my opinion. It's the most eyebrow-raising defending. So I'm glad Kyle Walker got put in his place. He should stick to running in straight lines. What else was I going to say? Yeah. We talked about how high of quality our 3 goals were against Norwich. And it's impressive enough to score 3 goals in a football match. It's even more impressive when they're of that quality. Let's tip our hat to Tottenham's goals the other day. My, oh my. We can't praise Harry Kane's performance without talking about Heung-min Son as well. A guy who was days away from leaving Tottenham at one point after an underwhelming start to his career there. His ball in for Kane for I think it was their second goal, the one where he kind of has to meet it on the half volley, inch perfect. What João Cancelo is doing, I will never know. Imagine if that was Trent, the internet would have a field day.
Imagine if that was Robertson. Let's reel it back.
Oh,
Imagine if
yeah.
that was Robertson.
No, imagine. No.
Let's-
Look, let's analyze this. Look at the irony of on the afternoon, we rest both our fullbacks and the much heralded Kyle Walker and Cancelo, who some say are of equal, to our magnificent fullbacks, have an absolute shocker because Cancelo was ripped to shreds all game. And look at the goal and look at Cancelo's tracking back and this lack of, I should say, in the goal. And we've discussed Kyle Walker, being sort of Harry Kane knows exactly what he's doing. He's getting away from Diaz, who may be a difficult person to beat in the air. He's just pulled off into Kyle Walker, who knows his concentration is as good as Avi's on the REDFELLAS on a Sunday night.
He's thinking about the Trent interview in his head as the cross is coming to him.
And boom,
the cross
boom,
helps it though as well, guys, because if that's whipped in, it's easier. But because he's chipped it in, it means Walker can't. He's kind of standing.
There's no. It's from a standing point, Kyle Walker, whereas Harry Kane is attacking it. Guys, let's get the likes up to 400. We're about to wrap it up very, very quickly. It's a doddle, man. Come on, let's get the likes up to 400 before we go. Robbie sending a super chat, and he says, psychology of the Leeds game is huge. With 10 days till next Premier League game, must get Pep in a sweat. Pivotal match. No risks, just go strong. By the way, great show. Leeds.
I'm inclined to think that the fact that Klopp rested both fullbacks for this game makes me think that they might both be back for Leeds. I wouldn't have been surprised to see him go one rest for one rest for the other.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
But with the way it's gone, it makes me think that both will be back. I think that the idea of us going anything other than strong doesn't really exist at this moment because they're all strong. You can make we could all pick 4 different teams and we'd all go, yeah, that team will win that game because and it's not even just about the 11 anymore, is it? It's the full team. Again, going back to full circle to what we were talking about before. I think we're in a position now where we are able to maybe recognize when some games require less intensity than others, but still do enough to win. Now, previously, those games are the ones that were hard to watch because you try and win a game in second gear, and it's hard because the other team knows you're in second gear. But I think we're better at it now. I think with Leeds are a very specific kind of team as well because it's almost like this whole man-to-man all over the pitch business. It kind of gives you the blueprint to beat them. So even if what we normally do is enough, there is this other way we can beat them. So I'm not worried in that respect. I'll be interested to see if we keep a clean sheet because, Leeds try to create chaos.
Yeah, not
They
sure
always
about
try
that.
to create chaos.
Leeds could be 5-0 down and they'll still go like it's the start of the game, ultra attack.
They are like the Black Knight from Monty Python. They never know when they are dead. But like the Black Knight in Monty Python, they will eventually die. And I think we will eventually beat them.
Conroy, for you, is it pretty much, do we just absolutely look, we as fans can easily say we need to blank out the cup final, which is 4 days later, right? Wednesday? Yeah. It's 3-4 days later. If you're in Klopp's shoes, do we just make sure the focus is on Wednesday? Of course. But in terms of the only way I think Klopp will
it'll be a big indicator if the League Cup final is totally out of his system and thinking. If he picks the strongest available 11, and that means for me reverting to Trent and Robertson, Matip, Van Dijk, Fabinho, Thiago. I think the same front three because they're injured, aren't they? Bobby and Jota. Would
Maybe
you?
Origi's the other option, but I don't know if he would come in, Grizz.
We haven't touched upon Origi. The Lord Divock Origi has woken up from his slumber at just the type of and timing of season he loves. He loves Champions League killer goals. He loves scoring important, iconic goals. With Bobby being out for a while, Klopp says, it's Lord Divock Origi, as I tweeted the other day, his story isn't his finished at Liverpool, is there? There is still a final chapter that could be the most beautiful chapter written in the Divock Origi book.
We'll see. I mean, to be fair to Divock, I feel like he's there. We're competing with trophies. He can come on and have an impact, and we do need that. You know, I've spoken about it numerous times. You need a physical impact of a striker in a team. I don't care what you say. Like, you've got lots of plans, that works great, but there's been numerous times where you can break a low block down, and you need that option. So until we get a replacement for him, if we're looking for that in the summer, I'm so happy he's fit now and we can actually utilise that. I would say, Grizz, just to kind of relate that to the Leeds point, don't think he'll play against Leeds, just as Mo said, because of the energetic way Leeds play. I think it might actually suit Diaz, Mane and Salah, to be honest, because in the transition, that will suit us. So I think that'll be the front three. I think our two fullbacks will play the next 3 games. Klopp, I think, gave them this rest on the feeling that these next 2, 3, 4, these will be playing, and this is the only time we could get a rest for both of them. I think the midfield's a weird one. I feel like the amount of options we have at midfield, I feel like Klopp can afford to. He's got a bit more variety in the midfield. I feel like he can maybe say, right, Leeds, it's a must win, but there's players who could play, who could get the job done, and he can maybe slightly think about Chelsea. In an ideal world, he goes absolutely full strength, but I still feel like you could alter the midfield and still be very strong, if that makes sense, with the options we've got. But we'll see. For me, probably right now, we'll do a pre-match. Obviously, I feel like it's obviously Thiago, Fabinho, and
I'll give you a day or so to think about it and give me your selection on the pre-match.
I would say, but in right now, I feel like that's what my head's going at. But Klopp might think differently. There could be an Elliott in there as well. There's options. So I feel like Elliott played well against Leeds at Ellen Road at the first game of the season. It's one of his first games, which was excellent. So there's variety there before we go into the cup final, is my main point.
Evan, I want you to read out this comment because Neverman is being the star of the chat with his reference to Pie and Mash. Was it Pie and Mash?
Bangers and Mash.
Same thing. Bangers and Mash. He's been so good that I'm going to make him a moderator. And while I do that, I want you to read it out and just give this guy a shout out while I would find this quote and make him a moderator for my channel. Sorry.
Yeah, shout out to Neverman. I don't know what a banger or a mash is, but the other guys.
We forgot to tell the American what bangers and mashes. Maybe Mo's the best person to tell him what bangers and mashes.
Bangers are sausages, but they're also really good mute songs if you're one that way inclined. And mash is literally mashed potato.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like both of those things. So good job, Neverman. You got a thumbs up for me as well.
Get some beans in with the mashed potato and the sausages as well. Lovely.
So yeah, man of the chat, I guess we should say Neverman says, most people don't know this, but Divock Origi's feet actually do not touch the ground ever. They're consistently 1 to 2 inches above the ground, inhabited by us lesser mortals. I can back this up because after he scored in the Champions League final, I watched him transform into an ethereal being and kind of fly out of the stadium, up to his, spaceship or whatever.
Like the ending of Blades of Glory.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. Divock Origi, absolutely sent from some other world. Definitely not this one. But he's ours, and we love it. Shout out to Neverman. He's been on fire, and he even gave me his own explanation: sausage and potato. Simple, very, very to the point.
There you go.
I love it as well. Someone's just sent me on Twitter. There's a picture of some graffiti in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, that says "Football without Origi is nothing."
No
So,
way.
yes way, I'm telling you.
Oh,
The word
there's some
has
great
spread.
ones. There's some great ones.
Everybody now
Amazing.
knows the gospel is out there.
There's a Mohamed Salah mural in downtown Los Angeles that I've seen as well. So it's everywhere.
We're international, baby. We're
No,
international.
the best one is Kanye West has a few things recently on Instagram. We're not going to get into it, but there's been a bit of drama in relation to his love life and stuff. And it's a picture of him holding up his thing for the new album, and it's like a picture of something written, and someone put "We are nothing without Joe Matip" or something like that. And it's like a t-shirt. It's brilliant, brilliant.
We have just before we wrap it up, let's get it to 400 likes, people. And I've got a super chat, probably the last one. Alexander, thank you. He says we need to focus on the league. It's cities to lose. Getting a trophy to motivate the boys should be very important at this stage of the season, where we need the boys to be fully motivated. I don't think there's any sign of lack of motivation in this squad right now, Mo Stewart.
No, I think it's interesting. I did a show for Liverpool.com where I was talking about how hard would it be for Klopp to keep everyone happy. I think what we've seen so far from these last few games is that everybody's switched on. Everyone's on the same page. No one's upset being substituted early or anything, because not only are we seeing people come on and make a difference, but like they were saying, everybody is fully focused. We know we're in with a chance of doing something historic here, and no one wants to take a backward step. So I think we're in a really good position mentality-wise. The way we're able to win games in different ways at the moment is really pleasing me as well. I would quite like to see us against Leeds score in the first 20 minutes and open the door.
Yeah.
Just one time.
Just one time, old school. Yeah, let's just have it one by half time.
Just so we can. I mean, the other 25 games we will potentially play this season, they can all be heart attacks. But can we just have just one chill? And my sister's a Leeds fan as well, so I'm slightly motivated by that.
Amazing, guys. We must wrap it up, and usually when we're about to wrap it up, Mustafa, who's one of the moderators in the chat, always asks Keith a wrestling question, and Mustafa has realized there's no Keith on the panel today, and he knows it's pointless asking the rest of us because it's like bangers and mash to heaven.
That's like what we should call this video, bangers and mash. That's what we should call this video.
To ask us about WWE is like bangers and mash to heaven. So instead, Mustafa suggested his normal end of the show question and said, thoughts on the Kell Brook and Amir Khan fight, guys? If anybody wants to say anything on it, feel free.
I think I had a better idea of what bangers and mash were than what the
You might, I was gonna say, there's a small chance you might have heard of Amir Khan, Kell Brook less likely. To be honest with you, I didn't actually watch the fight because, I mean, both those guys kind of get on my nerves now, really. And I mean, it just happens sometimes with fighters when they've been around too long and they've run their mouth off too long. It's just like, I'm just tired. I'm not. What I would like to speak about, though, Natasha Jonas winning her world welterweight title at third attempt at the age of 37 years old. Someone who I have met through doing Liverpool media and stuff. The nicest woman out there and an absolute brilliant fighter. So I'm extremely pleased for Natasha Jonas to win her fight.
Do you know what?
Shut up.
Shame. That's a massive shout out, but shame on you two. Shame on you two. Why?
I've not even commented on the fight yet.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about shame on me and shame on you two that we haven't given a shout out to Keith's missus.
Oh, I was gonna segue.
Oh, you wasn't gonna say. Oh, you
I was
wasn't
gonna
gonna say.
segue.
Oh, you wasn't gonna segue.
Grizz, you're not the only one who's allowed to segue. I can segue too.
Okay, go segue.
We have to shout out Keith's wife, who has been training for so long, apparently, according to Keith, and she was training for this fight. I believe this was her amateur debut. So,
yes.
Yeah. So, but as you know, I don't understand what that means, but I understand it's very serious. So he sent us a lovely video saying we got the W. We were all rooting for her. And, you know, he sent me like a little promo video of her warming up, and I would absolutely not want to test her in any situation. He would absolutely send me home crying, shout her out. She did incredible.
Absolutely amazing. Pixelated Pigeon, we love that name. Obviously, he's a regular in the chat. Great show as always. Enjoyed the discussion. Up the Reds. Conrad, did you want to speak on?
Just a quick one. I just heard a bit about it, and obviously I think, in fairness to Kell Brook, he'd been wanting this fight. So just a bit of, give him a bit of praise. He'd done exactly what he said he would do. So I think there's a bit of credit there. And also, I've got to be honest, I found the interviews after quite interesting. I think Amir Khan just came out and said, I basically just don't have the love for the sport anymore. And I feel like you don't really hear that very often. And I just found that, it's quite interesting to hear, quite an honest interview, and fair play to that. And I just found that quite insightful.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, very, very, very briefly, like someone said in the chat, not all Khans have a chin like that.
That's a brilliant comment. That's a great comment. Have a
exactly.
glass chin. Not all Khans have a glass chin.
Yeah, you want to try my chin, people. I'll eat you all, man. Come like me. But anyway, listen, that's a different story for a different day. Less than 10 likes from 400. I just thought it was lunacy, delusional from the Amir Khan camp and advisory people to actually think that he can stay out of the ring for 2.5 years and walk into a fight where he's fighting his arch enemy, someone who's wanted to smash the shit out of him for so many years, and you thought you're gonna have no warm-up fight, get your reactions going, get your feet going. Boxing is a skill, is an art. He actually thought he's gonna walk back into the ring and take on this fight. I thought he was badly advised. Amir Khan has been a warrior. Let's not get it twisted. He's put sort of represented South Asians on the boxing map, and fair play to him, absolutely fair play to him. But this was ill-advised.
I mean,
ill-advised.
The way I would see it from the advice point of view, what I would say is it feels like they were saying that you want one more high-profile fight before you transition into the next part, just so you're in the public eye a bit and people remember who you are. So when you try selling them your new reality show, new fragrance line or clothing line, they'll be like, oh yeah, there was that fella, he was on Sky Sports the other day.
Absolutely.
I mean, he got paid and he kind of got beaten up for it, but probably worth it in the long run.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. Paul says, Grizz, 6 million, not bad advice. Fair play. He secured the bag, as the youngsters say these days. He secured the bag. Is that how they say it, Evan?
Yes, spot on. Well done.
Okay,
well done.
There you go.
We're one off. We're one off 400 likes. We're one off.
We'll get that by the time you hit that outro. But guys,
well, in that case, we need to say RIP to Jamal Edwards. Maybe that'll get that last like. An absolute legend and pioneer of British music. Evan, if he's someone who you don't know about, I would definitely take the time to investigate, because all of what we do, all of this YouTube space, all of the ability for everybody to grow from the grassroots and to become whatever they want to be in this country, he was the first.
Yeah, as someone who's done a lot of work in music, obviously I don't know too much about the UK music scene or even the creative scene in general. He's a name that's known to people out here, and normally when a name is known, even maybe, reputation precedes him and all sorts of things like that. So I'll definitely have to, honor him and do my own research into just how far his reach was and his influence and things like that.
That's a beautiful way to end a beautiful show. People, hope you enjoyed that. I think I'm on a par with Jurgen Klopp when it comes to substitutions. I've proved it so by substituting the useless Avi and the weaker of the Cross family. Like, Keith is definitely the weaker one. Mrs. Cross is the stronger. We know that. I substituted both of them for the legend that is Mo Stewart. Mo, we absolutely appreciate your time and effort.
I've loved it. And all I can say is I hope that they're sitting at home, sitting on the bench, angry, ready to come in and prove themselves on the next show.
They'll be gone now, Mo. That's it. You're not seeing them again.
No, I'm a motivator supreme.
I was going to say there are going to be a few times when you guys are going to be coming up against some NBA games in the future, so we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. People in the chat, you've been absolutely amazing as per. This show is nothing without your comment and support. You've been magnificent, and obviously my two red fellas. Peace out, guys. We hopefully see you in the midweek anyway. We'll sort something out. This has been your red fellas on a Sunday night where we have discussed the title race, which is badly back on. Over and out. Take care. But today was bad.